Okay, hi everybody. Welcome to another English class here on verbling.com. My name is Lisa, and in this hour we're going to be having a reading class. I put the link to the document with the article in it up in the Verbling chat, so you can click on that and it will open up the document that we're going to read. If you have a reservation for this hour, you can go ahead and use it now. If you don't have a reservation, then you can just wait a minute, and when you see the join class button up at the top, then that means it's open to anybody who is a Verbling member. If you're not yet a Verbling member and you've been watching classes and listening to people talk and kind of participating from the sidelines, we say, you might want to join, so you can come into the Google Hangouts and participate with us. That is $45 per month, but you can also do a free trial if you are not sure yet, if you just want to check it out. So hi there, Matteo. How are you?
Hello, hello.
Hello.
Fine, thanks.
Good. All right. Any plans for this weekend?
Oh no, nothing special, just walking. I'm busy.
Very busy, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. What do you do for work?
Oh, I am entrepreneur in
Oh,
a real estate investment.
oh,
Also, in
great.
the United States, I have my company in Florida.
In Florida. Oh, okay, wonderful.
Yeah.
So in Italy and Florida?
No. Now, in this moment, I live in Italy because I have another company in Switzerland.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and usually I'm going in United States, I'm back in Italy. But
Oh,
now in my plans, I have transferred completely in Central America, Panama.
wow. Okay, you're a busy guy.
Yeah, I like this.
Awesome. That's great. Yeah, wonderful. The global economy. For
Yes,
you.
yes, yes.
Okay, great. Awesome. Okay, Jose, how are you doing? Jose, are you there?
Hello, Lisa. How are you?
Hi, good. I'm good. Okay, your microphone is working very well. Awesome. All right, let me just say hi to everybody. Make sure everybody's microphones are working. Hamid, how are you?
I'm fine. What about you?
I'm good. I'm good. And let's see, Fernando. Hi, Fernando.
Hi, Lisa.
Welcome.
Thank
And
you.
Adrian. Hi, Adrian.
Hey, Lisa.
Welcome. Okay, guys, we can go ahead and get started. Maybe some other people will join us in a minute, but I'll do the introduction here so we can get started. Today, this is a reading class, so we're going to be reading an article that I got from npr.org, which you guys are probably very familiar with by now because I grab a lot of articles from this website. It's the National Public Radio website. They have lots of different programs, shows, parts of the website. So this one's coming from the health news called Shots. Here's health news from NPR. So it always talks about health-related issues. So this one says, does binge watching make us depressed? Good question. So we're going to be reading this article, but of course I put it over here in the document. If you want, you can open up the document or you can just read it on the screen. It doesn't matter. It's up to you. Hi, Wilmer. And Amparo. Hi, Amparo. Welcome.
Hi, teacher. Good morning.
Hi. Okay, so let's go ahead and just get started. The first thing, of course, I want to make sure everybody understands the title. Does somebody know what it means to binge watch?
Maybe online watching using some websites or some subscription websites.
Well, it actually refers to how much you do. So it doesn't matter exactly what you're watching, but it refers to the amount of time you spend in one sitting, we say. So this is an example which is really only possible nowadays with services like Netflix, or even a few years back when you could buy a DVD which has like the whole entire season of one TV show, for example, like Friends or something was a popular TV show, or maybe like The Simpsons, or some TV show that usually, like when I was a kid, you could only see one episode per week, for example. You had to wait. So when I was younger, if I wanted to watch like The Simpsons or something, it would only be like, I don't know, every Sunday night or something like that. And you could only watch one episode at a time. But now, because you have the internet and you also have DVDs, you can watch like 10 episodes, in one day or something like that. Right, exactly, Hamid. So, and some people do. Like I know I have a friend. He does this sometimes. He'll not watch any TV for a long time, and then he'll go and he'll get like, the first 2 seasons of Breaking Bad. Oh, Breaking Bad, not Bads. Breaking Bad, and he will watch them all like in one day, one weekend, and just like the whole season or 2 or 3 seasons. That's what binge watching is. So the word binge is to have a binge or to go on a binge, and it's the same with drinking alcohol. So for example, if you drink a lot of alcohol in one night, for example, you're on a binge. You're binge drinking. So we use that word whenever you do something like a lot, all in one time. And so it's kind of a new thing, actually, for being able to do it with TV. You can also watch binge movies, for example, like say you wanted to watch all the Star Wars movies in one weekend. That would be like you're on a binge. So now that we know that, and a couple of ways to use that word, you could say, I'm binge watching, or I binge watched. It's kind of turned into a verb, binge watched. Or he's on a binge, or he's binging, something like that. Okay, the question though is, does doing this make us depressed? So this is something new, and scientists are kind of trying to catch up with human behavior and see what it does to us. We're doing it already. People are binge watching already, but is it doing anything harmful to us, like making us depressed? Okay, Netflix and other streaming media services have become the crack of television, making it possible to watch an entire season of shows like House of Cards or Orange is the New Black in one go. It seems like harmless fun, but recent headlines suggest that our binge-watching habits could be making us depressed and miserable. Okay, Adrian, why don't we start with you today?
Netflix and other streaming media services have become the crack of television, making it possible to watch an entire season of show like House of Cards or Orange is the New Black in one go. It seems like harmless fun, but recent headlines suggest that our binge-watching habit could be making us depressed and miserable.
Okay. Okay, so Netflix, some of you might be familiar with Netflix, and other streaming media services. So this is a new word with internet. We stream things. So what it means is if you go to Netflix, for example, it used to be that Netflix was a service that you could get DVDs in the mail. So you had to choose the movies you wanted, and then they would send you 1, 2, or 3 DVDs in the mail. You watched them, and then you sent them back. They still have that for some of their movies, but a lot of the movies you can watch on your TV, and that's called streaming. So anytime you can watch, like a whole movie at a time or TV episode on your computer or on your TV like that, it's called streaming. So it's live streaming right there. This, for example, the class that we're doing right now is streaming live on YouTube actually right now, and on Verbling. So lots of media services provide this now. There are other ones like Hulu, and you probably have other ones in your countries that are popular also. So yeah, like an online library, exactly, for media. Okay, so it's kind of become the crack of television. This crack is the drug. You guys familiar with crack? That he's talking about the drug. It's, crack is known to be like get you really addicted really fast and give you a really quick high. So it's very addictive. So that's what he means there with that, the crack of television. So it's like what you want if you're a TV addict. You want Netflix. You can watch whole episodes and all at once. Okay, I mean whole seasons, I should say. So that's the idea, entire season. So it means all of the episodes. Like I said, a season is usually however many months, maybe 9 months, and you used to have to watch one episode per week, and now you can watch all the episodes which make up the entire or the whole season at one time. So we have these are from Netflix actually, these particular shows. These are the two names of shows that Netflix created, and you can watch them in one go. So this in one go goes along with to watch blah 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 in one go. So it means in one sitting at one time, that's what it means, in one go. It seems like harmless, like it's not that bad for you or anything, nothing's going to happen to you, it's just fun. But recent headlines, so headlines are what you see in the newspaper, that tell you what's happened. So some of these headlines suggest, so they give us the idea that perhaps our binge-watching habits, so I do want to keep you guys aware of the pronunciation. With the G, it's what we call a soft G, so it's binge, kind of like a J, binge. But binge watching, maybe these habits, people doing this, could be making us depressed. Of course, the us is just humans, and also miserable. Miserable means when you feel terrible, you just don't feel good, you feel lonely, you feel depressed, you feel blah, like that. The most recent findings on binge watching associated people who binge television with depression, loneliness, and inability to control their behavior. Our findings in our research show that those who feel more depressed tend to watch more programs. Yoon-hee Sung, a doctoral student at the University of Texas at Austin, and the lead researcher in the study, tells Shots. Shots is the program. But no one is actually diagnosing frequent watchers with depression. Okay, Amparo.
The most recent finding on binge watching associated people who binge television with depression, loneliness, and an inability to control their behavior. Our findings in our research show that those who feel more depressed tend to watch more programs. Yoon-hee Sung, a doctoral student at the University of Texas at Austin, the lead researcher in the study, tells Shots. But no one is actually diagnosing frequent watchers with depression.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I just changed this to make it sound better there. The most recent findings. So the findings are when people are doing research, what do they discover? What are the results? That's what the findings are. What do they find out? So people, so the findings are related to binge watching, associated people who binge watch television, and they've associated people who do this activity with depression, loneliness, feeling like they're alone, like they don't have friends, they don't have family, and inability to control their behavior. So not able to control their behavior. So this is some kind of a connection. So it's kind of associated, just means there's a connection, but it doesn't necessarily mean there's a cause. So it just means that people who do this do seem to have some amount of depression, loneliness, or an inability to control their behavior. This often means like maybe they can't control their anger, something like that, their emotions, how they behave. Okay, their findings. People who feel depressed tend to watch more programs. Tend to, it means it's their tendency. It's what they often do. It's what's most normal for them. They tend to do this. The lead researcher, that just means like the head researcher, the top guy. He's in charge of the study. And then SHOTS is the name of the program on NPR. But no one is actually diagnosing. So to diagnose, a medical professional has to diagnose somebody with something. You can't just diagnose people in reality. So nobody's actually diagnosing. Nobody's really saying that these people do have clinical depression, for example. So nobody's actually doing that. A watcher is a person who watches TV or movies. Frequent just means a lot. So people, they're not really saying that just because you watch a lot of TV shows that you are depressed, that you have depression. Of the 316 people who answered an online survey, 237 met the researchers' definition of binge watching. They were more likely than the non-binge viewers to admit behaviors associated with depression, lack of self-regulation, or loneliness. But the study didn't find that binge watching will make you depressed, out of control, or lonely. It merely suggests a connection. Okay, Fernando.
Of the 360 people who answered online survey, 237 made the research's definition on binge watching. They were more likely than the non-binge viewers to admit behaviors associated with depression, lack of self-regulation, or loneliness. But the study didn't find that binge watching will make you depressed, out of control, or lonely. It merely suggests a connection.
Good. Okay, so people answered an online survey, and 237 met the researcher's definition. So to meet the definition of something means you qualified. So the researchers said this is what it means, and 237 people had that habit of doing that. So they met the definition. They did what the researchers said was binge watching. And those same people were also more likely than the non-binge viewers is like watchers, to admit. To admit means you say, yes, I do this. I do have this type of behavior. So they admitted, or they said that they did have some behaviors that could be associated with those three things: depression, lack of self-regulation, that's the inability to control your behavior, self-regulation, to regulate yourself, and loneliness. But this is the important part here. They didn't find that it makes you depressed. So just because you do this doesn't mean that that's the cause of your depression or being out of control, lack of, not having self-regulation, or being lonely. It just suggests a connection. So it merely means it only, or it suggests a connection, but it's not a cause. As with any new social phenomenon, scientists are scrambling to catch up with human behavior. And when it comes to binge watching, researchers readily admit that they're not there yet. I feel like this is just exploratory research, says Wei Na Li, a professor of communications at the University of Texas at Austin, and the advising researcher in Sung's study. The researchers will present their findings at the International Communication Association Conference in May. Okay, Hamid.
As with any new social phenomenon, scientists are scrambling to catch up with human behavior. And when it comes to binge watching, researchers readily admit that they are not there yet. I feel like this is just exploratory research, says Wei Na Li, a professor of communications at the University of Texas at Austin and the advising researchers in Sung's study. The researchers will present their findings at the International Communication Association Conference in May.
Okay. As with, so whenever we have, you could say, something new, that's a social phenomenon. So a phenomenon is something that happens. So this is new, you know, like I explained earlier, it wasn't even possible to do this before, so it's new, and people are doing it. So that's why we call it a social phenomenon. The scientists are scrambling to catch up. So to scramble means they're hurrying. They're trying to work, hard and figure out what's happening. To scramble means like you're not really organized, you're not on top of things, you're kind of behind. So you're trying to catch up. So to catch up means to come to the same level. So humans are already doing this. So to catch up with them, scientists are trying to explain it and try to understand it. But the humans are already doing this behavior. They're already binge watching. So the researchers readily admit. So this describes how they admit. So this is an adverb. It just means they are admitting. They don't have a problem admitting. They're not trying to hide the fact that they don't understand. They're fine saying, yes, we admit it. We don't really know what's going on yet. We don't understand it yet. So it's just exploratory research. To explore is what it means. They're just trying to understand some of the basic ideas. It's not like in-depth, detailed research. Just trying to find out kind of the basics. So this professor, he was the advising researcher. So that he's not a researcher necessarily for this study, but he was advising the researcher. So he's a professor and he advises the other guys about the research and how they can do it and stuff like that. And so they're all going to be presenting their findings. So Hamid, you know about that, presenting your findings at a conference. So we say sometimes conference, congress, workshops.
Seminar.
What?
Seminar as well.
Seminars too. So in a profession, especially like in an academic subject area, there are lots of different conferences and congresses and seminars happening all the time, all around the world, where people present findings of research. Okay, the problems with binge watching research start with how scientists define how much television you have to watch to be binging. Sung Lee and other researchers define binge watching as watching 2 or more episodes in one sitting. But 2 episodes can mean dramatically different things depending on what you're watching. Binge watching 2 episodes of Friends takes less than half of the time it takes to watch 1 episode of Sherlock. Yet, with a definition based on the number of episodes, Friends is a binge and Sherlock is normal behavior. Okay, Jose.
Sorry. The problems with binge-watching research start with how scientists define how much television you have to watch to be binging. Zhang, Li, and other researchers define binge-watching as watching 2 or more episodes in one sitting. But 2 episodes can mean dramatically different things depending on what you're watching. Binge watching 2 episodes of Friends takes less than half of the time it takes to watch 1 episode of Sherlock, yet with a definition based on the number of episodes. Friends is a binge and Sherlock is normal behavior.
Okay. All right. So the first problem is how to define something. So when researchers have to first define the word, what does it even mean to be binge watching? And so they define it. They say this is what it means. You have to watch 2 or more episodes in one sitting or in one go or at one time. You can say it lots of different ways. So I just want to point out in terms of this word, since it's probably new for most of you, it is a little bit different than some of the ways in English. Usually we drop the E and then just add the ing. But that would be binging then, and that's not a word. So binge, to make it stay with that soft G sound, we need to keep the E there. So just if you're noticing that, binging. And it's just, I binge, you binge, he or she binges, they binge, and the past tense would be binged. So he binged on Breaking Bad last weekend, or something like that. Okay, so the definition is 2 or more episodes in one sitting, but that can mean dramatically different things. Dramatically means, significantly or drastically, or, it makes a big difference because it depends on what you're watching. So it matters if you're watching a 30-minute episode or an episode which is 2 hours long. Each show can be different if you're watching Downton Abbey or, Breaking Bad or any of those ones that have been popular in the recent past. They're all different lengths. Some could be 30 minutes, some could be an hour, some could be 2 hours. It really depends. So it's a little bit tricky. Once the researchers defined binge watching, they set up surveys to see if people have the same response as they do to recognized binging disorders like binge eating and binge drinking. They ask participants questions about everything from their annual income to whether they're depressed. Since there are so many variables, that makes it hard to draw conclusions from small studies. Okay, Mateo.
Okay. Once the researchers defined binge watching, they set up surveys to see if people have the same response as they do to recognized binging disorder like binge eating and binge drinking. They asked participants questions about everything from the annual income to whether they're depressed. Since there are so many variables, that makes it hard to draw conclusions from a small study.
Okay. For the pronunciation, I've been wanting to point this out to a lot of people. Once. So it almost sounds like we put a W in front of it. Yeah, once.
Once.
Exactly. Good. Once. Okay, so they set up surveys. So they design, they create, they make these surveys, and to see if the people have the same response. Your response to something is how you act, based on something. You see something and you do this. That's your response. So there are other recognized, means people know about these already. We know that people already have certain types of disorders. A disorder is kind of like a disease, like, it's like an abnormal behavior. So people have binging issues, problems. That is with eating. You eat a whole box of donuts in one sitting, or you can't stop eating cereal. You have to finish the whole box in one time. That's called binge eating. And binge drinking, again, instead of just having maybe like 1 or 2 beers, you have to have 6 beers at a time, or 10, or something like that, or you have to finish the whole bottle of whiskey. That's a binge drinking situation. Okay, so they wanted to figure out if they have the same kind of response as those other people. Do they do the same kind of thing? So they asked a lot of questions about annual income, so how much money do you make in a year, annual, to all the way from your income to whether you're depressed. Are you depressed? Do you diagnose yourself as depressed, or have you been diagnosed with depression? Since there are so many variables, a variable is something that can change things. Your age is a variable, your profession is a variable, where you live is a variable, your genetics, your ethnic history, this type of thing. These are all variables, different things that affect the outcome. It makes it hard. It makes it difficult to draw conclusions. To draw a conclusion means to come up with a conclusion, to make a conclusion, and in a conclusion is what you say, like all people do this. That would be a conclusion. So if you have a small study and you have a lot of variables, it's really hard to say what's really true. So it's hard to have accurate conclusions. Still, researchers think there's some effect. You get this response that's very similar to the response from giving up food or substances, says Chad Bingo, a marketing student at Siena College in Rochester, New York, who helped run a binge-watching study in 2014. The side effects aren't there, but the feeling of needing it all the time is, he tells Shots. Okay, Wilmer.
Hi, teacher.
Hi.
Still, researchers think there's some effect. You get the response that's very similar to response from giving up for a substance, says Chad Bingo, a marketing student at Siena College in Rochester, NY, who helped run a binge-watching study in 2014. The side effects aren't there, but the feeling of needing it all the time is. He tell he tells Shots.
Good. Okay. Yeah. So they're trying to figure out if what the effects are of doing this. So he says, in fact, you do get a response that's very similar to. So it's similar to. It's like the response that you get, for example, a binge eater who's trying to give up food, so trying to stop eating so much food at once, just eating a normal amount, or like a drug addict or a binge a drug or alcohol person. They are trying to give up substances. Substances can mean alcohol or drugs. So that's what it means there. And just in terms of the pronunciation, for everybody, just a reminder to really get the S's. Make sure you say the S's at the end, because we do. So substances, because that's how we form the plurals. So we got to make sure we have the S's at the end there. So he's a student at New York, Rochester, New York. That's the abbreviation for New York State. So he says, yeah, that there aren't the side effects. So you don't have the side effects that you do from binge eating. A side effect of binge eating is maybe you gain weight or you throw up or you get sick or something like that. That's a side effect, something that happens after you do it. Same with drinking alcohol too much. If you have binge drinking, maybe you get sick or you pass out or you have to go to the hospital. There are consequences for that, but there's not really any side effects necessarily. Like you're not going to gain weight because you watched the entire season of Downton Abbey. You're not going to get sick. You're not going to have a physical side effect. But the feeling that you have afterwards, this feeling of needing it, you want it, that's there, is what they're saying. But the most confounding factor may be how fast the technology that lets us binge is changing. Consider the autoplay function on Netflix. When an episode ends, there's a 15-second pause, and then the next episode in the season starts automatically. There's no choice in this behavior, which means it's up to the viewer to regulate themselves and turn off the TV. Okay, Adrian.
Yeah, but the most confounding factor might be how fast the technology that lets us binge is changing. Consider the autoplay function on Netflix. When an episode ends, there's a 15-second pause, and then the next episode in the season starts automatically. There's no choice in the behavior, which means it's up to the viewer to regulate themselves and turn off the TV.
Okay, good. All right, so a factor, first of all, before we describe it, the most something factor. So a factor is something that affects something else. It's like a variable. So one of the most confounding, so using it as an adjective to describe the factor, it's a confusing factor. You know, something that surprises you, confuses you, kind of messes with you. The confounding factor, the thing that kind of makes it even more difficult, is that the technology is even changing, you know, so quickly, so fast, that it helps you binge even more. So that kind of confuses the whole situation even more, because what is normal then? Is it normal to sit down and watch 5 episodes of something because it starts automatically? That could feel like a normal time, spend 3 hours or something watching a bunch of episodes. So it's because of this autoplay function. So a function is what something does. So in this case, Netflix has created a function where an episode ends, and then you have a little pause, and then the next episode starts automatically. So you don't have to even do anything. You just keep sitting there on the couch and wait a minute, you know, and then it's there. So this means there's no choice. You have to make a choice if you want to stop it. So that's the idea. The viewer has to regulate. You have to decide, you know, am I going to get up and turn this off and be done, or do I just sit here and continue to watch, and how much do I watch? So you have to regulate yourself. You have to get up and turn off the TV, perhaps. For the most part, we believe that the autoplay feature does encourage you to start new episodes, said Bingo. And this is one of the questions he has struggled with. When does a viewer cross the line from responding to design and into addictive behavior? Okay, Amparo.
For the most part, we believe that the autoplay feature does encourage you to start new episodes, said Bingo. And this is one of the questions he has struggled with. When does a viewer cross the line from responding to design and into addictive behavior?
Yeah, so one of the things I like to do when we're reading is to give you other words too for things. So where he says for the most part, you could also say like in general. So or you could say generally speaking, or generally we believe. So it's kind of like basically we believe that the autoplay feature does encourage. So yes, it encourages people to sit there and continue to watch. When you encourage somebody to do something, it's like you make it easy for them, you welcome them to continue to do it, that kind of thing. So this is one of the questions that they struggle with, or he has struggled with, pointing out the preposition there. You struggle with things. It means it's difficult for you. You don't understand, you know, if it's a good thing or a bad thing. So you have a struggle with it. And the question is, you know, when does it, you know, a viewer respond to design, so the design of this new function, and I'm just responding to it as a viewer, or when does it turn into actually addictive behavior? So there's like this line, we say cross the line from one situation to another situation. So crossing the line, you go from just responding to the new design on Netflix, for example, or into having actual addictive behavior. In some cases, it's obvious who's a binge viewer. There are binge-watching pioneers who consume entire seasons in a weekend. That's what we consider addictive behavior, when almost every weekend they get up at 9 in the morning and watch for 10 hours, says Bingo. Okay, Fernando.
In some cases, it's obvious who's a binge viewer. There are binge-watching pioneers who consume entire seasons in a weekend. That's what we consider addictive behavior. When almost every weekend they get up at 9 in the morning and watch for 10 hours, says Bingo.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's pretty obvious to them who's a binge watcher or a binge viewer. There are even pioneers. A pioneer is somebody who does something kind of for the first time. You know, so there are people who are doing this thing where they're consuming, meaning watching, entire seasons during a weekend. And I know people like that. Maybe some of you guys have done that. But the researchers do consider that addictive behavior. And especially they say almost every weekend. So it's not just you did it once or twice with a TV series, but it's something that you do frequently, So most weekends maybe you actually spend the entire day watching seasons of television shows. But just because the behavior is unprecedented, that doesn't make it unhealthy. Raj Devasagayam, a professor of marketing at Siena College, who was the lead author of the 2014 study, is most impressed with the binge viewers' attention span and how they can react to multiple storylines. Okay, Hamid.
Sorry, can you highlight?
Yeah, right here, but just because.
Okay, but just because the behavior is unprecedented, that doesn't make it unhealthy. Raja Devazagayam, a professor of marketing at Siena College, who was the lead author of the 2014 study, is most impressed with the binge viewers' attention span and how they can react to multiple storylines.
Okay, so he has a different point of view just because it's unprecedented. So that word means it hasn't happened before. So it's an unprecedented thing. It's a new thing. It doesn't mean that it's unhealthy. We don't really know it yet. Again, the lead author is the person who writes, most of the report there. He's the lead. He takes charge. He's the boss there. But even though many people participate probably in the writing of the study, he's impressed with these binge viewers. Impressed with means he's amazed by what they're able to do. To be impressed with somebody means you're like, wow, that person can really do this or that, and so you are surprised and you like what they're doing. So he's actually surprised about and impressed with their attention span, how they can pay attention for so long to something, and especially to how they can react to multiple storylines. So lots of different things happening all in one day. Multiple storylines because you're watching the whole season at once. So that's a long attention span. Some people wouldn't be able to sit that long and pay attention to something like that. They're focusing on many different things at a high level, he says. He's not even sure that he can say that binge viewers are watching alone, because so many are contributing to online forums and engaging with other fans they have never met in person. Just because I didn't binge watch at my age or growing up doesn't mean that it's wrong. Okay, Mateo.
Okay, they're focusing on many different things at a high level. He says he is not even sure that he can say that binge viewers are watching alone, because so many are contributing to online forums and engaging with other fans they have never met in person. Just because I didn't binge watch at my age or growing up doesn't mean that it's wrong.
Okay, good. So they're quoting him some more. So he's the final guy who gets the final word in this article. He's just saying, we don't even know if they're watching alone by themselves, because apparently these people are contributing to. That means they're doing something, and what they're doing in an online forum is writing. So if you're contributing to an online forum, you're writing. You're having discussions. You're talking about the storyline, the characters, what's going to happen next. Maybe you're talking about the actors and the actresses, or the director, or the scene, the scenery. Some people get really into these shows and they analyze them and they pick them apart and they try to understand like the psychology behind the story, stuff like that. So people are actually, talking about things online, and they're engaging with other fans, other viewers who like the same show, for example. So to engage with somebody means to interact with them, to talk to them. But in this case, it's writing. So going back and forth, discussing these different things. So, people they don't even know, they have never met in person, yet they're very active and engaged. So he's not sure that it's wrong, wrong or bad, or you shouldn't be doing it. It's just something new that people are doing, and so scientists want to understand what the effects are. Okay, before we hear your guys' comments, does anybody have any questions about any of these words, expressions, binging, anything? No? Okay, Mateo, what do you think about this? Have you ever binge watched a bunch of episodes at one time, or
Oh.
do you watch TV at all? Do you have time for that?
No, this article, it's for me, it's a little bit strange.
Yeah.
because because
Yeah.
here in Italy, I usually I watch the just TV, not binge watching, because I know in this case of binge watching, it's online in the internet. Okay. Yeah.
Well, not necessarily online on the internet, because nowadays with like Apple TV, Roku, and other,
Okay, and a pay TV, okay.
Yeah, and with Netflix streams over your TV, so you can sit in front of your TV and watch, but you get to decide,
Mm.
and you can
No.
even do it with DVDs too.
Okay, I understand. But now, for me, my opinion in this case, I don't have opinion because usually I don't like watch the too much television. Okay, I not use this.
You don't use.
Usually I watch the completely movie on the TV tonight, but I not follow serious movie. I don't like this.
Okay, good. Yeah, I wanted to explain just a little more. So, for example, this was a really popular one for a while. So this was a TV series, Breaking Bad. It went from 2008 to 2013. So each year they had a season. Okay, so there were a total of 5 seasons, and each season, I don't know how many episodes there were. Usually there could be anywhere from 6 to 12 episodes or something like that. But here's this, like this would be season 1. So there's the pilot, that was episode 1, episode 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 episodes. So this would be like if somebody went and watched all 7 episodes like on Saturday, or something like that, or Sunday. That would be like a binge. You just sat down, and you can buy each episode.
Okay.
Like, on Amazon, you could watch. I don't know if it's on Netflix. Nowadays, you can buy things even on YouTube. So that would be the example of binge watching, something like Breaking Bad.
Sorry, one question. But in this case, binge, for example, I understand. In in a different episode, it's a different story, or it's a one story and step by step. Okay.
Exactly. Each episode has like a story, but it's an ongoing story.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I
So you
understand.
see the same characters, but maybe some new characters come in. Sometimes in an episode, somebody will die off. Something bad will happen. And, yeah, and it continues on. Season 2.
Probably it's for this the people have depression.
Probably the content.
Because they must see each time a different episode for know
to know, right? Exactly.
Completely story.
Yes, we say they get hooked. So you get hooked and you want to know what happened next. In the past though, you had to wait a whole week to find out. Nowadays, people can just buy the whole season and watch. That's what the
Yeah.
difference is.
Now
Yeah.
I understand.
So these are some famous ones that have been famous TV series. And some of them are like 30 minutes long, 60 minutes long, 40, something, different times for them. Hamid, what have you ever watched a bunch of episodes at once? Oh, tell your Breaking Bad story. Okay.
If I tell my Breaking Bad story, for example, I finished in 3 weeks whole seasons.
5 seasons?
Yes, and
Yeah.
generally during the day I was watching maximum 4 episodes in a day.
So that was like 3 hours a day or something?
Yes, one episode is generally 45 minutes for Breaking Bad. So if we calculate 45 times 4, it is 180 minutes. So it is 3 hours. But
Yeah.
sometimes I could give break times, not in the sequence.
Yeah, not all in one sitting, maybe.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
But I know some guys, and I will share interesting Guinness record for one guy's watching not TV shows or episodes, but that guy watched for 56 hours
Whoa.
some movies in the
Wow.
theater center.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And
Crazy.
there is no break time for him, but for his natural necessities, there were some organizations. I mean, the theater center was special for him.
Uh-huh. Wow.
Because, if you eat popcorn all times, you should need to go to somewhere, but that theater center was special. So everything was well organized for the situation. So that guy broke the record for 56 hours.
Oh my gosh. Wow, crazy. World record, I guess, huh?
Yes.
Okay. Wow. Fernando, what about you? Have you ever
Lisa, some people can be with funny way, not binge watching, binge participants for verbling lessons.
Yeah, that's true. We have some bingers on Verbling. 5 or 6 classes all in one day. But yeah, well, that's what they're saying. Not doing things on a binge isn't necessarily bad. Depends. Eating a whole box of donuts or 3 bags of chips, that could be bad for your health. But taking classes, studying, reading, isn't necessarily bad. And maybe even watching a TV series isn't bad, if you do it. It depends on if you have to do it every single day,
Yes, and for verbling side, it cannot be depressive. It can be educative and good for people.
Sure. Yeah. Like the measure would be how does it affect your life? Did you end up in the hospital because you did it? Okay. Let's go to Fernando. Fernando, what about you? What do you think about binge watching? Do you spend much time watching TV?
I am a binge watching because I like watch many sport events.
Oh, sport events. Okay.
Yeah, like Super Bowl the last Monday.
Super Bowl. Oh
Finish.
yeah, that was
Yeah.
like 3.5 hours long.
I enjoy watching soccer, for example.
Yeah.
Especially Liga BBVA. Spain, from Spain.
From Spain. Okay.
Yeah. And others things, maybe Netflix. I have a subscription to Netflix. I watch Breaking Bad.
Breaking Bad.
But I watch one chapter per week. I don't watch all season
at once.
Hours, yeah. No more. I use Netflix to watch movies. but 1 or 2 movies per week is short.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's easy. I enjoy watching.
Mhm. Mhm. Cool. Yeah, and certainly a lot of people who are trying to learn another language, like English, for example, it's also an educational thing to do to watch a lot of the shows in English, for example. So I think from the article we can't say that it causes depression. That definitely doesn't cause you to be depressed to watch a lot of shows. Amparo, what about you? Do you ever binge watch a whole entire season of something?
No, I don't really watch TV a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
But from time to time, I just watch a series in online, Castle or Revenge. But
Mm-hmm.
just 1 or 2 chapters, just when I am ironing, and
Mm.
because of that, it's so boring. I try to to find something to do at the same time.
Yeah.
And I think Beverly is different because you have different teachers, so
Sure.
different actors, different classes, so it's not the same because you can't have it's not the same plotter every time.
Yeah.
So
It's not the same
I
plot.
think, yeah, the same plot. Yeah, it's different.
That's funny. Oh yeah, sure. And everything's different. It's especially that the definition of binge watching is really hard because people do watch movies. You can watch 2 movies in a row. That's kind of normal if you're on a weekend and you don't have anything else to do, or like if you're ironing
Yeah,
and you're
for
working.
example, one of
Yeah.
my nieces, she
Mhm.
can spend the problem with her is that she can spend a lot of time watching the series, one
Mm.
chapter. Yes, she is a kind of example of this.
Yeah.
And for example, she's just with his iPad, with her
Mhm.
iPad,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's like she is disconnected from the world. When you
Mm.
are speaking to her, and said, "What? I don't. Where is your mom? I don't know. Where is your sister? I don't know." Yeah, she's like, yeah,
She gets addicted to it. Yeah, sure.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely
She,
kids.
yes,
Kids can get addicted more easily. I think adults have work or studies or something like that. So
yeah.
yeah. Adrian, what about you? Do you like to watch TV series, and do you ever watch like the entire season at once?
Yeah. Yes. Last year, I find out streaming
Ah,
TV.
uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah. For example, the Walking Dead.
The Walking
Uh,
Dead, yeah. Uh-huh.
yeah, yeah. The 3 season in the Netflix.
Uh-huh.
I I watched in maybe 3 weeks.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, a weekend, a day, I watched uh, 3 chapter maybe. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Then I watched the House of Cards. It's
Mm.
amazing
Mm-hmm.
series.
Yeah.
Um, now I am watching The Fall. It's police
Oh.
thriller. It is Gillian Anderson.
Mm.
Yeah, that
Mm-hmm.
is, yeah.
Yeah.
I think yes, it's is uh, mm, I can it can be a problem depend of you.
Yeah. Sure.
Yes, as
Yeah.
as a whole.
Yeah, as it with anything, it really depends on you and how you're using it. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Okay, guys.
exactly.
Well, we are done with this hour, and I have another class in the next hour, so I'll finish up here on time and go to the next one. It's going to be listening practice again with different videos. So thanks, guys, for coming, and take care of yourself with your TV habits.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Thank you
take care,
so
guys.
much.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.